Recording.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Okay, I'm Suzanne from TVMEG.com. How are you guys doing today?
Good, good. Thanks for having
Very
us.
good.
Oh
Thank
yeah.
you for having us.
Well, I watched the movie. I enjoyed it. I started yesterday and watched the rest this morning, but it was good. I liked it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Selena, how did you come up with the idea for the movie?
Yeah, so it's kind of based on a personal story. My husband and I went on a trip to Vegas after we had our son, and it was like one of the first trips we had had without our son. And we went to this club in Las Vegas, and this woman started hitting on me. And she was very beautiful, and I had never really been hit on by a woman. And I realized that I was kind of curious. And my husband was right there with me. And I kind of said, she really wanted to kiss me. And I asked my husband, like, well, how do you feel about that? And he was like, oh my God, yeah, go for it. And I was like, oh, okay.
Every guy would say that,
Ah!
right?
And so we shared
Not
this like
wrong.
very beautiful kiss. And then she was like, I'd really love to grab your phone number. I'd love to see you later. And I was like, oh, okay. So I checked in with my husband and he was like, give her your phone number. And I was like, okay. And so I gave her my phone number. And then we spent the next 48 hours in Vegas just talking about what was on the table, what was not on the table, what would be allowed, what would make us feel safe. And we were just laughing so much. We were having so much. Oh my God. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, it like disappeared, my Zoom.
Oh yeah, you froze a little bit. There you go.
We're good. You're still there.
I'm still here. Okay. I'm so sorry.
It's
Give
okay.
me one
Got
second,
pulled into a
guys.
Vegas fantasy. That's the whole thing.
It's, well, you got
Dan,
us hooked now. Don't
Yeah.
I know, but the problem is that I can't see you guys anymore at all.
um
So I
we
just,
can still hear you and see you.
Still here and see you.
okay.
So
Okay. All right. I'll keep going even though I can't see you guys at all.
Okay.
So anyway, long story short, um, I we spent the next 48 hours in Vegas talking about like what this would look like, all of the stuff, and it was really exciting. And then, long story short, she did not text me.
Aw.
She ghosted me. But what we realized was that we had had kind of all of these really important conversations between us, and it opened up so much stuff for us as a couple that we felt like there's a story here. And by the time we left Vegas, we were already outlining the script.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I think every couple, married or not, should watch this movie because it, as you said, opens conversations and also I just like it was so real, the way the couples were and the couple was and how you interacted, like the way you could just look at each other and know what the other was saying and that kind of thing. That's very real. I've been married 42 years. So
wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
very different, very different. So how long did it take to write and produce and where was it filmed?
So it took me actually 40. So, okay, it took us like a month to outline. Okay, I'm back. Oh, it was just so frustrating to not be able to see you guys. I'm so sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
speaking into the void. Okay. So it took a month to outline, and then it actually took me 48 hours to write the first draft, which is pretty crazy. But I think that it was like we had outlined it so much and we had discussed it so much that it kind of just like it was like it just came out of me. And then obviously from that draft into like what we shot, there were various iterations and various rewrites. And so that took a couple of months. And then we shot in Los Angeles and in Mexico in San Pancho in Nayarit.
Okay. And so let me ask you both as actors, how do you make yourself comfortable playing husband and wife, first of all, and then in a movie about intimacy, marriage, and sex, especially when the director is also her husband?
Well, it was interesting when I'm kissing Selena and Dan is right by my shoulder, whispering in my ear. No, I'm kidding. For me, I felt very comfortable. Selena and Dan made a very, very sort of warm, inviting setting. The dialogue for us as actors and our prep was very open and honest. And that sort of, I believe, translated over to the screen. Just being able to sort of build a relationship off the camera as friends and as colleagues just sort of allowed us to, I think, flourish on the screen because we had room to play. And in every marriage, as I'm sure you know, as someone who's very experienced, anything can kind of happen.
Hmm.
So I think as long as we were rooted in our characters, it always came back to a place of authenticity. So, we obviously spent a lot of time in prep talking to each other, talking about the ebbs and flows of relationships, specifically with our characters and, the outside forces that's, later join in. But it was a very sort of streamlined experience, either due to our time restrictions or, we just came prepared. We were ready to show up and play. And I hope that came off on the screen.
It
So,
did. It did. What about you, Selena?
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, like, I think one of the biggest things that we've been receiving right now as we're doing premieres and screenings leading up to the movie coming out is just like how authentic and honest it feels and how much it hits home for that reason. And I think so much of our intention for Dan and I that and that we really worked on, Ritesh and I, was this idea that even when no one's saying anything, right? I think so much of marriage is about what you don't and the moments when you're not talking and when you're trying to communicate in silence or trying to hide what you're feeling in silence. And so there was a lot there that we really cared about that I think we were really thoughtful about um because there's the words and then there's the not words. And I think sometimes the not words is where you're really catching these two people just like in the being of this marriage. And I think yeah, and I think, it was very easy because Ritesh and I spent a lot of time together before we started so that we could give each other
Right.
that.
Well, it certainly helped that both of you are very expressive actors, and you can see things in your face that you get as an audience. But yeah, even though I've been married a long time, and my husband and I have never smoked pot, and we've never had a threesome. But I could see myself or him in parts of your character. So I think because it is so real,
oh,
I think that's why. So, but
Thank you. That was our
um,
intention. I'm really glad to
yeah.
hear that.
wonderful.
So what do you hope moviegoers enjoy or learn from your film?
So I think for us, and again, one of the feedbacks that we have been getting, but one of the biggest things is like just how do we stay open and honest and communicative in our partnerships, right? And I think that one of the biggest things that we really wanted to tackle is how many assumptions we can make about each other in a relationship. You start to feel like you know everything about the other person, and so then you stop being curious about how they're growing and how they're changing. You stop giving them space to actually be who they are. And I don't think we do this on purpose. I think so much of it is just like we're in the doing of life, and
Hmm.
doing is like such a checklist all the time. And so, like, how do we step back to just be a little bit more and like give space to the other person to be, and then get curious about how we're both changing? And so to me, like what I'm really hoping for this movie that I think we have gotten to some degree so far, but I'm really excited for it to go wide, is this idea that people will walk out of this movie and have a conversation they've never had before. And it might have nothing to do with a threesome. It might just be something they've never said, a question they've never asked, a way that they're getting curious or honest with each other that they needed to and they hadn't.
Okay. Well, they're telling me I have to wrap, so I thank you, both of you. And I'm sorry to get to ask more questions, but good luck with the film, and I hope it does very well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye.